Hello to all you lovely flossy friends who live in my phone. I hope this finds you well, happy and enjoying every little thing you can in life. My name is Pam. I go under the name Ditsy Daisy Crafts here on Flosstube, YouTube and also on Instagram. Today is Thursday the 3rd of July and I am here with Flosstube number 5. I've got a fair bit to show you today. Some bits you've seen before, some you haven't. I have of course got lots and lots of notes because, yeah, brain. So I've got lots of things written down. So shall we just get on with it? What have I got? I have got 10 projects to show you today. They're all new starts in June. I've been celebrating Raccoon June along with doing some other things as well. It's not all raccoon related. As much as I love a trash panda, I wouldn't do that to you. So yeah, got 10 new starts, of which 6 of them are FFOs, FFO'd even, and 4 of them are just continuing on as whips. What else have I got? I have got plans. I have got lots of lovely people, floss tubers in my things that have razzled my berries since I last saw you. What else have we got? I've got a Scottish word of the day, of course, which is related to one of my stitchy projects. I have a giveaway winner for you, and there'll be the usual inane bletherings and life stuff thrown in as we go. So let's just start on with the stitching. So let me have a look at this. The first thing I have got is my usual monthly stitch. This is the Crocette GoGo La Finestra del Tempo. I've been doing one of these every month since the start of the year, and they get hung up in my house. This was a really sweet little one to do. I absolutely loved it. I'm a centre starter normally, so started off with a goose and then came down to this beautiful lavender. And they were just lovely to stitch. I could quite happily have stopped at that, but it's just got more and more lovely as I carried on through the month. This was one of the nicest ones, I think, to stitch so far out of the 7 that I've done. I thoroughly enjoyed it. So that one, as usual, has got washers on the back, and it just gets swapped out every month on my little magnet downstairs. If you want to know what that looks like, there is a photo on my Instagram page. I use it as my month marker, so you'll be able to see that there. So the second project, it's also been on Instagram. It's just a silly little one. 26th of June is International Stitch Day. Stitch was experiment 626, so he gets a day all to himself to celebrate, and we've celebrated it for years. Not just because of the more recent film, which I have to say I haven't seen yet. So he's a really cute, quick little stitch. He's from Good Morning Maui. He's just stitched on white Ada. Sorry, I should have said that my Crocette GoGo, that's on a 28 count top, light top Brittany Lagana. But this guy, he's on a little scrap of 14 count white Ada with threads I had just lying around. I pulled out my DMC colour chart and just kind of colour matched as much as I could with what I had just sitting in kind of like unbranded floss. The only thing I would say though is I've now seen, and I kind of hadn't realised it at the time, that some things show Stitch with his kind of pinky ears and some he has more lilac ears. And if I show you, I have got my lucky Stitch mug with me, of course, today. You can see that Stitch has got here more lilac ears than he has pink. And that kind of is pretty much how he is in real life. He has more lilac ears than pink. So, bit disappointed. Like I say, I did kind of colour match it off the chart. I obviously haven't done the greatest of jobs, or maybe it was quite pinky originally charted. But that's okay. He's not doing anybody any harm. He is just going to live with me here in my craft room, and nobody see him. So I'm not taking this coaster apart to redo him. We're going to have Stitch with slightly more sunburnt, pink tinged ears here. So that's project number 2. Project number 3 is one that you haven't seen as well. None of these you've seen so far. I love this one. I'm really, really happy with how it turned out. Again, it's an FFO, but it's in 3 parts. This is a La Selva design that I bought on Etsy. So we have the first little raccoon, we have the second little raccoon, and we have the third little raccoon. I just love these little trash pandas. They took a bit of time to stitch, actually, for something that's only little. There's a fair amount of stitching in it, and the colours are quite close. But I'm really, really happy with them. They're in tart finishes. There's a little bit of Lady Dot Creates grey chenille in the background, just as kind of like a little fluffy nest for them to sit. In the chart, they are kind of described as raccoon, praying raccoon, and raccoon with his arms up. I don't think that's what they are. If I show you them again, we've got the plain one, he's just kind of looking at you. This one absolutely does have his hands up to his mouth, and this one has his hands in the air. I like to think that it's a little raccoon blowing a kiss. He's going, looking at you, and then he's going, and that's what it is. So yeah, I'm delighted with these. They've all got a little hanger on the back. These are just little stick-ons that this will come out, so they will get hung. I haven't decided where, probably in the kitchen. I think they'll probably go there. They're all stitched with the called for DMCs on just some grey even weave. Now I'm telling you, it's not great, it's white. That's right, it's white. It's a 27 count anchor even weave, and it was horrible. Probably doesn't help that it had been sitting in my stash for probably upwards of 20 years, still in the packet. It was really crisp. I can't describe how it was, but I wanted the 27 just to kind of like make it as big as I could to fill the tart tin up a little bit. So 27 was as good as I could get to go that kind of had. It wasn't pleasant to stitch on. What was left has gone in the bin. But it does the job, and it's mounted up here okay. So yeah, called for DMC colours apart from the pink, because there's only, I think, is it 3 stitches? Yeah, so that happened to be a pink that was from another project I was working on that was to hand, just to make his little tongue. So that is project number 3, which I am delighted with. Project number 4 is a new one for me. It's my first ever Mill Hill bead kit. This is Rosie Raccoon. She is holding an apple. First time I've ever done this. I've done plenty of beading in my past, but I've never done one of these Mill Hill kits before on the perforated paper, and I actually really enjoyed it as a stitch. I found the paper really easy and straightforward to stitch on. This chart, this pattern, this kit is the inspiration for my word of the day for you, which I will come up with later and tell you about. But yeah, it took a lot longer than I was expecting. It was a slow process. I don't know if that's maybe the kind of deliberate motions needed for perforated paper, but it was really enjoyable. I would have no hesitation in doing another one in a heartbeat, other than because I found it so slow. I was kind of like, oh, I could have achieved so much more in this time if I'd been working on one of my other projects. So that would be the only thing that would put me off. I did go kind of wrong down here. I got a little discombobulated with the apple, but by the time I realised, I thought, because each bead I've put on has got a double cross through it to keep it secure, and I thought the logistics of trying to unpick that, no, I could ruin the whole thing. So it's staying. Again, nobody's going to be upset about it other than me. It's got a little flower on it there, a kind of crystally type looking thing, and I've just popped a magnet on the back of it. I've got an overhead light that I use when I'm stitching downstairs, that's metal, so this little guy, or girl, because her name's Rosie, will just go on there. Yes, I'll see it all the time. So that's that one. Really happy with that. I have been looking at other ones. I bought this kit from Create Nostalgia, and they had a huge range of Mill Hills. I could quite happily have had quite a few of them, and they had some really nice frames. They had the Mill Hill frame, which is kind of pumpkin shaped, and it was really did like that. But I wanted to try a small to see how I got on first. And because I was celebrating Raccoon June, it had to be Rosie. So there we go. That is project number 4. Project number 5 you have seen before, but it wasn't finished. And that is this. It's the Raccoons from Spring Forest Scrapbook by the Blue Flower. This was a set. I showed the chart in my last video. This chart came with 4 pieces. It was the second part of a pair. The first one came with 5 that together made a 9 square, like a checkerboard, knots and crosses type thing. But I just wanted the raccoons. And here they are. I've decided it's Bruce and I because he's slightly taller and this is short, dumpy little old me here. I'm delighted with it. Absolutely delighted with this one. It's just on a wooden, it's not a frame. It was something I got, those of you here in the UK will know the range. It had a kind of picture in the back printed on it just saying put the kettle on. So I just covered that in, this is a scrapbook pick. This is actually a Stampin' Up one. And mounted it on front. So this actually sits on the front of that. This is stitched on a 28 count light blue Brittany Lagana from Zweigart with the cold 4 colours mostly. The grey here is Oyster from Weeks Dye Works. The original flowers were charted in a terracotta colour. I did kind of talk about this last time as well, which I wasn't keen on at all. And I had planned on doing it in pink when I took this away on holiday with us, and I took a couple of pink, kind of fuchsia pink flosses with us. But then I decided to know that with the kind of the checkerboard effect of them, they actually, if you stitch them in the right purples, they look like, I can never pronounce this right, is it Fritillaria? Fritillaria? I think it's Fritillaria. The flowers. I know my mum used to have them in the garden, which is why they kind of made me think of this colour scheme. So I changed it to that. Yeah, haven't decided what I'm going to do with this one yet. It has got a hanging hoop on the back, but I might put a stander on it and have it either standing up or use it as a leaner. As yet undecided. So that is project number 5. And project number 6 is one which got quite a good reception when I showed it in progress. Had lots of comments on it. And that is my adaptation of the Primrose Cottage freebie of the month for May, which was the 4th of July round. Now, obviously here in Scotland, 4th of July decor just doesn't work, but it was such a lovely chart that I wanted to play with it. Again, I've spoken about this in my last video a couple of weeks ago. So I changed up the colours, changed up the flags, and changed it to be Scottish. And I now have it FFO'd. I've got some rickrack on there, you can see. This finish was inspired by the lovely Michelle of Mama Loves You GB, who did a fabulous round box finish with one of her. She's done a few, but she did a beautiful, was it Bee Queen? Sleeping Bee? I can't remember. A little while ago, and it was just wonderful. It's nowhere near as glorious a finish as hers. It's not what I was envisioning when I started. To start with, I couldn't get the right size of box. I didn't want it anywhere near this big, but down from this size was too small. So compromises were made, and this is the one we went with. This is actually called a brie box. To give you an idea of the size of it, it must be about, I don't know, 8-9 inches across, 8 maybe. So yeah, and originally it was going to be crackle glazed with white and blue, blue in background and then white over the top. Crackle glaze was an absolute disaster. Didn't crackle. We had no crackles. So then it was, okay, what's plan B? So I played around a few times. It's not ideal. It's not what I originally envisioned, but I'm happy enough. So the stitch itself, as I said, I did kind of go over it in a lot of detail in my last video, but I'll go over it again now for anybody who didn't see that one, save you going back and looking in case you're interested. The colours that I've recharted it in, I have got Classic Girlworks Deep Blue Sea for the majority of this blue here. I've got Gentle Art Hyacinth, Green with Envy, you can see that there, and I've got Midnight for the flagpoles, and then just a bit of B5200 for the white. So that's my adaptation. I would have liked to have had a smaller finish with less of a margin around it. I would have liked it to have been much tighter, but that wasn't going to work. It would have just looked daft on this box. So I've just whapped that round some white mount board with a bit of batten behind it, and then chuck some rickrack. I'm a little disappointed when I put the rickrack on. I glued each in place. I kind of like maneuvered it round and then glued it, and had a those little clips, sewing clips, to keep it tight, so that it's, because as you can see I've managed to make it meet on the way around. Sorry, I've got a bit of fluff on there, to keep everything in place. And it's kind of left little dunts in the fabric, which would normally have lifted by now. It normally lifts quite quickly, but they just haven't. So I'm hoping that time will take those out. There's only tiny little marks, but it's enough for me to notice. But yeah, so that is that. Just blue on the bottom, green on the top, and then I've put some blue and white baker's twine around it to finish it. So that is my adaptation of the 4th of July round from Primrose Cottage. So with that done, that is all my FFOs. So I have 4 whips to show you. I'm just trying to think. You've seen them all before, and I spoke about them obviously last time, and also my plans for what I wanted to achieve in the time in between, and I've hit all my targets. I've achieved what I wanted to. The only thing I haven't done, I did have an 11th project I wanted to start. There just hasn't been enough time. It was again a Raccoon June, a Trash Panda project. It was a black work one, but something had to give, and that was it. There's always next year, or even before next year if I want to. It's going to be next year. It's not going to happen before then. So yeah, so I ticked the boxes I wanted to, but all of these are now, I think, yeah, all of them will go into normal rotation. They'll not be tucked away as seasonal stitches. They'll just go to my everyday whip pile. So the first one we have got is Cottage Garden Samplings, the Raccoon. I love this little guy, he's so cute. This is on 28 count Swiger Even Weave in Springfield Stage. It does have a green tinge to it, but it's just not picking that up at all. It just looks plain grey there. But it does have some green to it. I'm sorry that's not picking up better. So that's where we're at. Last time you saw this, I kind of was just starting on his face, and my plan was to finish his face. And I've managed to achieve that. This is what he's going to look like when he's all done. He's got that magnificent tail. I am stitching this with the called for DMCs. The only thing that I've changed is I have put in a different yellow. I've kind of made it a little bit more subtle. That yellow is too bright for my taste. So I've kind of taken that down a level. To just make it a little bit more subtle. So that's him. He's lovely. I do really enjoy stitching the patterns on these, the kind of pattern that's built into them. It's lovely. So that's an enjoyable stitch, and one that I will be carrying on with. Maybe not this month, but you'll see it over the next few months. So the next project was one that was quite sentimental to me. I've mentioned it before again. And that's this one. It's Rainbow Crossings from Silver Creek Sampler. So I started stitching this on the 11th of June in honour of all the pets that we'd lost before. And I think when I showed it to you earlier, how far was I? I was about halfway across the bridge, and probably about where the kind of the railing is, and down. So I finished the bridge and extended the water across and done a little bit of the grass. I think I've added about another 500 stitches into it. Sorry, the raccoon, I should have said, I'm really not very good at this. The raccoon is, I've done 1,657 stitches out of 7,299. So he's at 22.7%. This one, I've got 1,580 stitches in out of 7,524, which is putting it at 20.9%. The only thing I'm annoyed about, I don't know if I can pull it back, you can see that's kind of like it's end to end. That's the full width of it now. You can see I've kind of got more fabric left at one side than I do the other. I was a bit ditzy, hence the name. And I think I've oriented my fabric wrong. I've got it the wrong way around. It should be okay. I think I've got enough space to fit it in without a huge amount of issue. But yeah, I'm a bit annoyed about myself because that's a really kind of basic move. So, but the fabric itself is 28 count fabric flare, Cloud Spring Sky, which is a nice kind of quite subtle, quite gentle mottled blue. So really lovely stitch. I was a little concerned that I might be a bit emotional given the subject matter and that we still miss our bubbas. But it's actually a really pleasant, relaxing stitch. It's easy, it's not demanding, it's nice fabric to stitch on, so it just kind of flows. So yeah, I'm actually enjoying it a lot more than I was expecting to. Whether I enjoy it so much when I get to the writing and outlining all the clouds, right, I'll take this back up. We'll see how that goes, but hopefully. So yeah, my plan is to kind of work on this section next, and then I'll probably come down and then go up. But I'm in no rush to do that one. It'll happen when it happens. So, penultimate project now, again one you saw earlier in my previous video, and that's this one, another Raccoon June. This is Plum Street Samplers Raccoon Rabble. It's one of the set where there's 3 little critters together. I just love this one. I was a bit concerned when I started stitching that raccoon. I'm stitching in the Called For colours, which is a mix of DMC and Weeks Dye Works. And the floss for the raccoon is kind of green. And I'm like, green raccoon? I'm not entirely convinced by this, but actually it works. You can't really see that it's green. It works really fine, and he's just got the cutest little face. He's just so adorable. So this is a 28 count fabric flare Cafe au Lait. I've got loads of all the different colours of fabric flare, the 28 count kicking around, so I'm just going to use them up in projects. So it's 2/2 apart from his eyes. They are 2/1, or is it 1/1? I can't remember now. Excuse me, I'll just grab a drink. But yeah, they're done kind of like over 1, so you get that nice little eye highlight. I need to ask your advice on this one, or your opinions. If I show you the original chart, you can see him here, and you can see there's these 3 flowers across the pumpkin at the bottom there. You can see them really clearly. Now, as I said, I have stitched this in the Called For flosses, and mine kind of disappear. And I can't decide whether I should frog them and try a slightly paler colour. I'm not sure what, I'm trying to think what that one is. Sweet potato, is it? No, I'm telling you lies, that's a DMC. The pumpkin itself is sweet potato. But yeah, you can't really see them. You can see them kind of like close up there. And you can kind of see them from a distance, but not brilliantly. Or am I just overthinking it and actually it's fine? Thoughts? I'm not sure. Can't decide on that one. We'll see. He is 12,400. Try again. 1,248 stitches out of 3,504, putting him at 35.62%. My intention with this one, my plan had been to finish the pumpkin. I think I was about there last time I showed this, so I've got that pumpkin finished now. There's a lot of stitching in that pumpkin, and it wasn't even just kind of like all real easy filler pumpkin, because you had to make sure you left spaces for the leaves and so on. But it was fine. I'm happy with how it looks. So yeah, that's where we're at. I'll need to go up. I'm saying that's Daddy Raccoon, and then there's Mummy Raccoon, and she's got her little baby raccoon on her back. Are they kits? Is that what raccoons are? Kits? They're babies? Not sure. So that's that one, and then the last whip I've got to show you, again, one I started earlier in June, and that's this. The Robin Pickens Gathering Bright Blooms, which I fell in love with when I saw it on market release earlier this year, and just had to have it. The colours just, it speaks to me loudly. I started this on the 12th of June to celebrate Ailey's birthday. It's the first birthday we've been apart from each other. So I started this in her honour, because she is my bright bloom, who has actually just moved out of her Disney accommodation today. She had her last shift on Tuesday and she's moved out, so she's now in holiday mode. She's in a hotel with her pal on holiday. They've got a Disney cruise to look forward to, a 3-night one next weekend, so she's ending her trip in style. But anyway, back to this stitch. Here we go. My intention had been, my plan last time was to finish that middle row off 4 flowers, and I've done that. I was tempted to make a change. I'm stitching it in the called for DMCs, but I don't know how well it'll come in. This is quite a soft, I don't know, quite a dusky orange, whereas this round here, and you can see here, is quite bright. And I thought they're really, really similar. When I started stitching those two next to each other, you can actually see that they're actually reading differently there. I thought they're maybe a bit close, so I kind of put it to one side to come back to it. And then I thought, well, you know what? Robin Pickens is an awesome designer. Everything she does is beautiful. Her fabrics, her cross stitches, she knows what she's doing, and her colours are, you know, spot on. She's a pro. Have trust in her. And now that I've got the 4 stitches, I love it. I'm really, really happy with it. This fabric is a 32 count, which I have dyed myself to make it really dark. The one I was originally going to stitch it on, which I now can't remember. I told you the wrong name last video, my bad. I can't for the life of me remember what it was. It's tucked away for another project. But yeah, this, I decided to dye something myself, darker. And it just, the first one I did wasn't dark enough, so I re-dyed it literally the night before we were going on holiday. When I was meant to be packing, I was frantically dyeing fabric. And one thing I did want to point out is it's actually something that Stuart, not Stuart, what am I talking about? Jason, I'm sorry, Jason. Jason mentioned in his most recent Flosstube, which I watched earlier today, because when it comes to Jason, I watch them as soon as I can, because I just love them. But I'll talk about Jason more later. But yeah, he was talking about how he worries about hoops flattening his stitches, and I kind of like commented saying, well, I kind of worry about the same. I prefer a Q-snap, but I stitch in a Lowry stand, and Q-snaps don't go well on there because they're round. You put them in the clamp and they just move up and down. I've tried putting in, you know, kind of like, it's kind of like that rubberized fabric, you know, for like washing things, like washing up dishes. And it helps a bit, but not a huge amount. I do have the corner clamp for the library as well, but it sits exactly where I want my left hand to be, so I need to excuse me, have a rethink on that. So in the meantime, I do use Q-snaps sometimes for small projects that I'll hold in my hand, but I like stitching on a frame, stitching two-handed. So for now I'm having to use normally Nerge. I've also got a spring tension hoop as well, the spring loaded ones, which I love the really good tension you can get on them. I like a nice tight fabric for stitching, but sometimes I worry that they're going to mark the fabric, and that's what's happened here. I don't know if you can see it. You can kind of see the crease lines, but it's almost made it a bit shiny, and I can't quite understand why. So I'm a little bit anxious about that. So I'm guessing I'll just have to, you know, do a reasonably tight frame on it, which would have been the plan anyway, and you'll probably not be able to see it, but it's just something I'm a little bit aware of now. Perhaps it's because it's such a dark fabric. Maybe that's why. Maybe it's showing up more than it normally would on a lighter fabric. But I like how dark this fabric is. As I said, it's a 32 count, but it had a few iterations of dyeing, so it's tight now. I would say it's probably more a 34, even heading towards a 36 possibly. But I'm loving it. It's a bit slower for me to stitch on, being tight and being dark, but I can't wait to have this one done and up on the wall. And as much as it's done in Ailey's honour, she's not getting it. It's going in my living room where I can look at it all the time. And she can look at it anytime she wants to as well, when she's home. So that is my 10 projects that I stitched on this month. So what else have we got? Plans. Whew. I'm not quite sure, to be honest. I'm really, really far behind on planning and kitting things out. June didn't quite go as planned in that I didn't get as much stitching done as I wanted. I kind of lost 4 days travelling. You know, when we went on holiday, we kind of had 2 days on the way down and same on the way back. We broke up the journey, and I can't stitch in the car. So although it wasn't huge long days in the car, it was tiring, and we stopped and had meals and, you know, did stuff and that. And yeah, on every leg of the journey we stopped and did something. So there was no stitching happening in those days. And I also lost another 3 days. I wasn't feeling great. I had blinding migraine. Stitching was just not happening. So as a result, I kind of was playing catch up to try and tick those boxes, those goals that I'd set for myself. And I kind of got a bit stressed about it all and a bit overwhelmed, and didn't have time to do the stitching that I wanted and also think ahead to next month. So yeah, kind of feeling a little bit discombobulated about it. That being said, I kind of have an idea where I'm going. I will be celebrating Jolly July. I've kind of pared down what I had planned on doing slightly. I've got a few small projects to start, one of which actually I sat and did some work on while I was watching Jason earlier. I should have been getting prep doing all this. It never ceases to amaze me how much time I spend preparing for these videos. I write copious notes to remind myself, and it's like 3 hours. So I should have been doing that, but instead I sat and watched Jason and stitched. I put a couple 100 stitches into a Christmas one, the Gingerbread Kisses and Christmas Wishes, the Primrose Cottage chart. I thoroughly enjoy doing that with Jason's company. So yeah, I've got a few smaller projects to do. I've got, also by Primrose Cottage, I've got the Christmas rules to finish that I started last Christmas in July, Jolly July, and then put away It's coming with me tonight. Tonight is Craft and Chatter group. I'm very excited because between being on holiday and that blasted migraine, and I can't remember, there was something else as well. I haven't actually seen the gang in total since May, the second last week in May, I think it was. I've seen a couple of them, but not everybody all together. So I'm really excited to go tonight. And that project is a nice one to take with me to Craft and Chatter because it's on Ada. So it's a little bit easier when you're spending more time blethering and laughing than you are counting. There will still be frogging because, you know, we have far too much good crack. Crack being a laugh, not anything dodgy. So yeah, that'll be coming with me tonight, and I've got one new larger Christmas start. I've been excited to start this one for a while. I'm going to be doing the Great White Christmas. I can't for the life of me remember the designer now. You'll find out next time. But yeah, excited to do that. But I'm hoping to find a balance and get cracking on some whips I've got as well. Not the ones necessarily you've just seen me show you, but I've got some other ones that I'm really excited to work on and eventually get finished and up. Things that haven't been worked on since March. And then kind of like April was all the Easter stitching and spring stitching, and you know, May was Halloween, this month has been Raccoon June. I've kind of been focusing on the month project. Now I want to find that balance. I've kind of mentioned this a few times. So there'll be a balance. It won't all be Christmas. I'm not starting anywhere near as many projects as I had originally thought. And I'm digging out some whips that you have not seen yet in the hope of making a bit of progress on those. I can't see any of those being near finished. No, I don't think so. But making some progress, making hopefully some decent progress. So what else have I got plan-wise? Oh, yes. I've never done a sal before. I've been tempted a couple of times, but I've never pulled the trigger on it. So, of course, just now when I'm feeling totally overwhelmed and unprepared and disorganised and have a nightmare of to-do list for things around the house before Ailey Bear comes home, I decided to join too. Because, yeah. So I am starting 2 sals. One of them it officially starts on the 21st of July. I might be late starting it. I'll explain why in a minute. So the first one, which started on Tuesday, which I haven't started yet, I've decided what I'd like to do, but I haven't decided fabric, colours, any of that stuff yet, is one that's being arranged by Kat at Catkin and Lily through her Patreon. She is doing is it crafting rules, sewing rules, the recent Primrose Cottage release, with the 6 different rules that stack to make a nice tall one. She's stitching that. She's invited people to join her with stitching that, or choose another stitching related chart that they happen to like. And there's lots of people who are doing lots of different charts, which is really lovely. I kind of hummed and hawed, but I decided to go for it. I have got lots of stitching related charts. I've got some really lovely ones that I'd like to do, but this one, the plan is to do it over 7 installments. And the other ones I've got are just a little bit too big. It would be a push. I could do them in 7 installments, but I wouldn't be stitching on much else. That I've got obviously other things I want to work on. So for now, I have decided to go on a smaller chart, which is this. It's My Big Toe Cross Stitch Designs, and it's the kind of Stitcher's version of the Serenity Prayer. God grants me the ability to stitch the stash I have, to have the stash I want, and the time to stitch it all, which really is what all of us dream of. So that's it there. we're going to be kind of doing it in 7 installments. That realistically makes 6 installments with the 2 borders and the 4 lines of text. So I'm not hugely concerned about being late starting it, because I know I'll be able to do that. I just haven't decided the colours I would like to do it in. I quite like what it's in. I do have another chart by this designer in the process at the moment, but it's a secret stitch, but it's kind of got the same kind of borders and the text, and it's an enjoyable enough stitch. It's one I've taken with me to Craft and Chatter a few times, and yeah, there's been some frogging done. Letters in the wrong place, that kind of thing. So yeah, if you're interested in doing a stitching related stitch along, you've only just missed the start and no more. It's the Catkin and Lily Patreon. Her Patreon is really good value, and I mean, most of you will know Cat from Catkin and Lily. She's a sweetheart. It's a lovely group. I have been nowhere near as involved as I would like to be. I've just never got as far as doing it, and believe it or not, I can be a little shy, and it feels a little daunting to jump into an established group of people. It's easy to do this because there's nobody in the room with me. I'm talking to myself. If anybody is daft enough to watch this, that's on you. I can't see your reaction. Sorry, I don't mean that in a disrespectful way at all. But yeah, but when it's actually talking to other people, I can be quite shy and a little bit nervy, and so yeah, I need to pull up my big girl pants to wedgie level and jump in and get on with that. Same with the Scottish Stitchers Facebook group. I need to get in and join that too, and get to know some of the people up here. But yes, so I need to do that. So if you're interested in doing that, if you want to do the Primrose Cottage version, or if you have a chart already, a different stitching related one. I know there's been a lot released recently. Is it Hands-On Design? They've got some crafting ones as well. I'm trying to think. There's been a few I've seen. But if you fancy some company along the road, join the Catkin and Lily Patreon, and I'll see you there. So that's the first one. The second one is a bigger stitch along. This is being run by the lovely Jenny of Jen's Stitchy Corner, and it's a chart which I have had ages, a long time it's been sitting, and I downloaded it and it went into my files and completely forgot about it. I must be better at printing things so that I remember I have them, because it's an Owl Forest chart, and I think I've got about 13 or 14 of their charts, their freebies, downloaded, and I forget about them because they sit inside my iPad and I never look at them, and it's a fabulous chart, and I've seen it a couple of times since, but it never really registered. So Jen sent me a message saying, I'm going to be doing this, Sal, do you fancy it? And I'm thinking, oh, I don't have time. I really don't have time to take something else on. I'd already kind of like committed myself, in theory, to the Catkin and Lily one. I just hadn't decided what I was going to do. So I thought, I don't really have time. I've got so many other things I want to stitch. But it does sound tempting. It does sound tempting. So I went and had another look at the chart, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's fab. It's lovely. So we are going to be stitching the Owl Forest. It's a freebie, so anybody can do it. Emerald City, the Wizard of Oz inspired chart. I have got a photo of it here to show you. Hopefully you'll be able to see that without too much glare. It's got lots of Wizard in Oz references there. It's just lovely. Now this originally, when Owl Forest had released it, was released as a SAL. So the chart itself is already broken down into, I think, 11 installments, each of which are manageable looking. I'm trying to think how big the whole design is. I think on a 16 count it's about, no, a 14 count it's about 12 by 12. I think it's about 160, 170 stitches square. So yeah, on a 14/28 count, that would be just short of 12 inches. So it's not unmanageable by any stretch of the imagination. So that is, sorry, I have got my phone ringing. I have no idea. Oh, it's a spam call from Liverpool. Let's just get that away. So yeah, and you start it down in this corner here, where you've got the barn, and then there's the tornado, and then there's Dorothy. Her name just completely went out of my head. I am sorry. You got little Toto, and yeah, so that I will be starting. Starts officially on the 21st of the month. I don't think I'll be organised by then, but I'll be doing my best to be organised to kind of get onto that, because now that I've decided I'm going to do it, I'm really excited about it and itching to get going. But because I'm doing that, I've kind of been doing a little bit of research as well. I was looking to see if anybody had stitched this before. I knew one person had, but then I found somebody else. So I have been looking at their versions, and I will talk about that in my Razzle Dazzlers and mention those people and signpost you towards them. So the reason I won't be starting a time is I have looked at theirs and I have really liked how they've run with it in a different direction, made slight changes. So I'm just gonna, I've got a voicemail thing come up on the screen. Yeah, I really like how adaptable the pattern is, and I want to actually sit and have a really good look at it. I need to do a floss adaptation anyway. The flosses that it's stitched in the picture are Owl Forest ones, which I can't get here. I could possibly have sent here, but it would take forever. So there's a DMC conversion, but I'd like to use some fancy flosses as well. So I need to sit and figure out what I want to use, any changes I want to make, that kind of thing. I want to be quite mindful and plan in advance. So if you're interested in that one, have a look. Jenny has a channel here, Jen Stitching Corner. She's on Instagram with the same name, and she's set up a Facebook group for the SAL as well, which I will link down below. I must make a note so that I remember to do that. And that way it'll make sense because I've written that. So yeah, so that's my plans. For somebody who doesn't really have plans, I've kind of got a lot of plans. So what will we move on to next? Those berry razzlers, the people who have razzled my berries since the last time I spoke to you. Now I know my videos tend to be long, and most of you tell me not to worry, that actually you enjoy having a long video. I don't think I would ever manage a short Flosstube, because sometimes it's nice to have something short to watch when you don't have as much time and you just want something that fits in, with a cup of coffee and a quick watch. I don't think I'd probably ever really make it to a medium length, if I'm completely honest. But there seems to be a lot of you out there who like a longer video. But I thought, I don't want it to be too long for you. So the only thing that I thought I could really do, other than just shut up, which I'm not capable of. I'm a bletherer and a haver. Those of you who have watched Flosstube 2 will understand what that's about. Yeah, that's probably not going to happen. So the only area where really I could trim time, if that makes sense, is the bit where people who have razzled my berries. I can't do it. I thought, right, if I do 2 videos a month, if I do, one at the start, one in the middle, I can spread my berries out. All that means is that I've got twice the opportunity to give shout outs to the wonderful, awesome people who deserve it. So yeah, I've got more today than I had planned. I have deliberately not watched some floss tubes because I know I'll want to mention them next time, and so I couldn't mention them this time. I am so far behind on Flosstube. My watch later list is well over 100. Some of those are Flosstubers I watch regularly. A lot of them are ones that are new to me, that I really need to crack on. It's just not happening. There's just not enough hours in the day, but there's so much loveliness out there that I want to be able to shout it out and tell you about these fantastic things that I've seen, that you need to go and have a look at too. So as much as I thought about it, I just can't not tell you of all these lovely people I've seen. So I've got a few today. I've got loads and loads of notes written down. So excuse me if I look up and down to kind of remind myself. So let's just crack on. The first person on my list, some of you may know already, that is the lovely Amanda, Alba Stitcher. She's kind of back to Flosstube after taking a bit of a break from it. She hasn't had anywhere near as much time to stitch. Life has moved on in exciting ways for her. So she had a break, and then she came back and did a video a few weeks ago, and then she's been back just recently with another one. Amanda's lovely. Amanda was one of the first Flosstubers I ever watched. Between her and Alicia of the Fanciful Flamingo, who I'd found on TikTok of all things, in a completely non-cross-stitch related way, and that's what kind of got me back into cross-stitch. The two of them were the first Flosstubers I watched, and opened my eyes to this whole new world, this whole new amazing community of the most lovely, supportive, creative, encouraging, just fabulous people. You lovely friends who live in my phone, flossy friends. So yeah, between the two of them, they're responsible for my obsession, the lack of housework and stuff that gets done, because there's stitching to be done and that takes priority. So yes, Amanda was kind of like very instrumental in me finding Flosstube, for starting watching it, seeing so many wonderful things that were available out there. For that, she has been a kind of personal enabler for me, but she's also just a really lovely lassie. She's Scottish, and she's worth a watch. And her recent video, she has had all 4 of the seasonal careers by Robin Pickens. She stitched all 4 of them. Individually, they're beautiful. They're on appropriate fabrics, or different fabrics that suit each one, but she's had all 4 of them professionally framed together into one big picture. It's wonderful. Go and have a look at it. It's really good. I probably wouldn't have thought of putting all 4 of them next to each other, so she kind of got a square like 2 and 2. I would probably have just had them done individually and displayed them in that way, but they look really amazing. I know she's happy with them, and I can't blame her. They are fabulous. So that's Amanda, Alba Stitcher. I'll link everybody down below to their Flosstube channels. So that's one. And I've got the really lovely sweet Kim at Stitchy Squirrels. She's lovely, she's gentle, she has the most amazing blue eyes, just beautiful. She's lovely. She's a really nice stitcher. Lots of projects that I can see a lot of people really enjoying. 2 in particular I wanted to mention today from her latest video. The first one is a fancy lady who's not a fancy lady in the traditional sense. Her name is Vanessa, and she's by Heritage Craft. She's one of the John Clayton's elegant ladies, and she is this beautiful lady, kind of draped with her arms over the arms of a sofa in this lovely kind of whites and greys, this ball gown. Elegant is exactly the word for her. She's beautiful. So when I say fancy lady, you all think of mirrors and Bella Filipinos and you know, that genre. She's different from that, and she's lovely and Kim is doing a beautiful job of stitching her. So you've got the whole length of her body and her dress and the sofa. Then there's a bit of kind of like panelled wall behind. And it's really, really lovely. It's different from anything I've seen on any floss tubes recently for quite a while. I can't think of anything quite the same as it. No. But it's certainly worth a look. To go and have a look at that. And the other one is, I know lots of people are huge fans of Cotton and Twine. Their boxes are wonderful. That's with one peeking over her shoulder. And Kim is doing one, but it's not a recent one. It's actually from a couple of years ago. And it's a garden themed box from May 2023. So yeah, just over 2 years ago. And I absolutely love it. It's so cute. It's got this really adorable little robin on it. It's got flowers. There's a shed. There's like strawberries, and but it's got the cutest fox in cross stitch. It's just lovely. It's so adorable. I'm kind of sad that you can't. I don't think you can go that far back and get the boxes, because I would stitch it just for the fox. It's lovely. And the little robin, as I say, is really cute as well. So that is Kim at Stitchy Squirrels. Now, the next person I've got to tell you about is a brand new floss tuber. Her name is Carrie, and her channel is Colourfully Cross Stitched. As I say, it's her first floss tube, and it's fabulous. I subscribed and hit the alert button straight away because I enjoyed it so much. She's British. And she kind of talks you through her whips and her history where she's got to this point. Really easy to listen to. Did a really cracking job. I was really impressed. I know, as I'm sure there's a few of you who are floss tubers as well. It's not easy. First one's really hard. I have to say, it probably gets more nerve-wracking until you kind of get into it every time. I'm a gibbering wreck every time I sit down here and have to kind of talk myself through it. So for somebody who was probably nervous doing her first one, she did a brilliant job. Well done, Carrie. She has fabulous projects. Her first project that she ever stitched was a full coverage with a lighthouse and things. So nothing like throwing yourself in at the deep end. And this was going back a little bit. Didn't go quite to plan. The borders didn't meet, and yeah, it just wasn't what she was hoping it would be for them. So it kind of got pushed to the side. But then her next project after that was a full coverage chart adaptation of a photo of her and her mum. So again, throwing yourself in at the deep end with challenging projects fearlessly. Those photo stitches are not easy. So many colour changes in that, and to make them look good. And she did a great job. So have a look at her. She has got lots of different charts. Some projects you'll recognise. She's doing the Clouds Factory. I can't remember what it's called. Is it the librarian one? The book club. That's it. Book club one. She's doing that. And if you're a reader, go and have a watch of Carrie as well, because she's an avid reader and she's kind of got book reviews and recommendations in there as well. So lots to watch there. She likes Alice in Wonderland. So if you like a bit of Alice in Wonderland, Cheshire Cat, all that, you'll find some charts there as well that will maybe tickle your fancy and razzle your berries. So that's Carrie at Colourfully Cross Stitched. And the next person I've got here is another brand new floss tuber doing their very first video, and that is Paula from PS Stitching Studio. Now Paula had, like a lot of us, cross stitched before and then has kind of had a gap for 20 odd years. Excuse me. In a prior life, she was really heavily involved in the cross-stitch universe, involved in publishing, involved in teaching, you know, totally immersed in that world. But then, like for a lot of us, life gets in the way. Family, work, trying to keep everybody else happy. Something has to give, and it's normally your hobbies. So like a lot of us, the cross-stitching stopped when real life intervened. And she's only found her way back into it in the last few months. And I'm very glad she did, because she has some really, really lovely projects. If you go and look at them, you'll see lots of lovely things. And what's fun is that she talks through her journey in this new cross-stitching chapter of her life. All the different stages of the different realizations of the overdyed flosses and the colour conversions and the overdyed fabrics and all these different things. So she kind of talks you through how her stitching has evolved just in the last few months compared to how it used to be, you know, a couple of decades ago. So yeah, I've explained that feeling before, because I'm sure that there's lots and lots and lots of us who know exactly what that feeling is, who have been busy lifing, raising families, all that kind of stuff, juggling all the stuff that life throws at you, and stepped away from the stitchy world and then came back, and it was like going from dozing off watching a TV in black and white, dozing off and then waking up and all of a sudden you've got 4K Technicolor with surround sound. That kind of jump in how the hobby had moved in leaps and bounds, developed in the most exciting of ways, and you get that journey through her. But I was thinking about it, and that, you know, there's that analogy about the TV, the black and white to the colour, but with my current Sal head on and my thinking and lots of thinking things going on, I have a new analogy. To me, it's like going to sleep in a barn, surviving a tornado that is life, and then waking up in this beautiful, bright, all singing, all dancing land of Oz. You know, that black and white from the start of the film that contrasts with this riot of colour. It's almost like an assault to your eyes. Bright colours. That's what, yeah, that's what stitching then is compared to now. It's going forward to the black and white, sleeping in a barn, to waking up in a whimsical land where animals talk and everybody sings and monkeys fly. So yes, go and have a look at Paula, the PS Stitching Studio. Yeah, and with that and my analogy, stitchers, we're not in Kansas anymore. The world is glorious and bright and Technicolor. So I have kind of segued there into the Emerald City Sal again. So the next couple of people I am going to talk about, one is new to me, the other isn't, but these are both stitchers who have completed Emerald City. I kind of decided that I would kind of have a look around and see if other people had stitched it, and see what they had done. And that's exactly what I did. So the first person I found is a lady called Barbara, who is the Seashore Stitcher. She's fab. She is so entertaining. I love the way she talks. She makes me smile. She makes my heart happy. I really enjoyed watching her Flosstube about Emerald City. And she's got several others, and I'm looking forward to, when there's time, going back and catching up with all of those as well. Her version of the Emerald City is fabulous. The way she talks about it, she has taken the original chart, which is based kind of on the film, and she has tweaked it and changed bits to pay homage to the original Frank L. Baum book, which has kind of like different details in it. I have to say I've never read that book, I've read the sequel, but I've never read the original. So she's taken other bits and changed things in the design to reflect the original reference material of the book, as well as the film that we all know so well, which I found really, really interesting. She kind of talks through different things. She talks through, there's bits that she's put in that are actually from real life, from Frank L. Baum and his wife, and she talks about backstory and that. So it was really, really interesting to hear that and learn about more about the Wizard of Oz, but also see where she'd taken the design. So I will be going back and rewatching that again, because she has made changes. So Barbara, the Seashore Stitcher, definitely recommend having a look at her. She's, yeah, I'm really happy I found her. So there's that. And the other person is one that I'm sure most of you will have heard of, and that's Samantha, the Hygge Stitcher. She's a phenomenally talented and accomplished stitcher. Huge range of different projects and styles that she works on. She's the bee's knees. She really is fabulous, and she's a really sweet, lovely person as well. She has stitched it as well, and she has made a fair few changes to the way that she has stitched it. Not necessarily huge changes in the chart itself, but how she's stitched that chart, and some little tweaks that she's put in, and I'm really, really excited by that. If you go back, it's only been, I think, a few floss tubes ago that she's got it finally finished, so you can see it all in its glory. It's wonderful, and watching her talk about it, her enthusiasm and her joy for this project, it just comes through. It's contagious. So yeah, I'll be watching that one again, and I hope both Samantha and Barbara will forgive me for using some of those changes possibly in my own version of it. I hope they take it as a sign of respect and admiration that I like what they've done and would like to emulate it in my own way. But yeah, that's why I'm not ready to start it yet, because I really want to think it through and yeah, decide how I want to do it, what colours I want to use, all that kind of stuff. So yes, but regardless of that, if you haven't watched Samantha the Hygge Stitcher, as in Hygge, do yourself a favour and go and watch her floss tubes. She's fabulous, especially if you like Fancy Ladies and Teresa Wenslers and all that kind of stuff. You'll be really happy. So we're kind of getting there. I promise we are kind of getting there, because yeah, my list is going down. So the next person I've got is for this video, the third brand new floss tuber. Again, doing her first ever floss tube, and that's Amanda, the Stitching Panda, and her floss tube channel is called Amanda, the Stitching Panda. So yeah, her first ever floss tube. It's a whip parade. There's so much on there to see. It's, yeah, it's just fabulous. She's got a really wide range of different styles and projects that she works on, really diverse. There's going to be something in there for everybody. Lots of, yeah, kind of, she ticks all the boxes for all the different kind of things that people like stitching. You know, we all have our own styles. She's really eclectic in what she stitches. You will find something. She has lots of fabulous full coverage, big projects. There's some smaller ones as well, but big full coverage pieces of all sorts of different subjects. Really diverse. You know me, I've never stitched a full coverage. I'm going to be doing a small one at some point when I actually pull my finger out and get my wolf one ordered. I must do that, get that dimensions kit ordered. but it's only a small one. These are huge, but I have so much respect for people. I was watching Katie, Jeremiah's mum. I need to make a note of something before I forget, because and she's working on this beer dragon. It's really fun chart, and again it's huge. And she's parking as she goes, and I just look at it, and I said this to her, I'm like, how do you manage? My mind boggles, because it's tiny little stitches, and 1/1, and so many colours, and the colours, you know, it's kind of, it's obviously not real to life because it's a dragon sitting with a pint of beer, but it's got that lovely graduation to be quite realistic looking. So there's lots of colours that are very, very similar. They're all parked. I'm like, how on earth do your eyes manage with it? And how do you know, how do you remember which thread is which? It just blows my mind. I have so much respect for all of you people who stitch full coverage. It's alchemy. It's absolute magic. I'm hoping that I enjoyed when I do my one, but I might be here cursing. We'll see. But yeah, she has lots of pieces. One of the favourites that I really enjoyed her showing us and talking about was she'd taken one of the promotional posters from Highlander, you know, the 80s film, and converted it into a chart, and she's doing this as a full coverage. Now, if you've kind of watched any of my floss tubes before, you know that I like a bit of pop culture, and I love 80s pop culture. I was born in 71, so kind of like my teenage years and everything was through the 80s, and I just love the 80s. It's just the best decade ever. Best music, and absolutely, when it comes to films, the best films. The films they make now just don't compare to the films they made in the 80s. There's so many classics from that time that you can just watch over and over again, and Highlander is one of them. It's one of my favourites. I love it. And she's doing this this big full coverage of it. It's just genius. I'm so, yeah, it's going to be wonderful when it's done. If I knew how to stitch full coverage, I would have been tempted to do it with her. But as we know, there can be only one. And if you lived through the 80s and have watched it, you'll know exactly what I mean. There can be only one. So she's doing it herself. So yeah, that's a brilliant one. I'm kind of, I'm sure again, those of us of the age that know that film inside out, back to front, we've all used the cardigan line. Lots, many of the cardigan lines have cracking lines in it. But I have something to say. So I kind of like have decided there's a stitchy version of it. I have something to say. It's better to burn out than to have floss sitting unused and chart sitting unloved. So that's Pam the Cardigan, I speak. So that's one of her projects that I wanted to tell you about. But one of the things I really, really wanted to speak about, she is doing this chart, and it's the flea market flowers, designed by Laurie Holt with It's So Emma Stitchery. You'll all know it's quite a graphic design with flowers, leaves. It's almost got a bit of the Orlick-Early about it, but a really lovely chart. In fact, I'm telling you about it. I could just show you, couldn't I? Because I saved a photo of it to here. So that is the original flea market flowers. You can see there it's Laurie Holt and It's So Emma Stitchery. So that's your original with a lovely kind of like vibrant colours on that white stitch there. And Amanda is stitching that chart beautifully on a navy fabric, and she's decided to do her own kind of colour scheme as well. She's running with the colours that are making her happy. They're not hugely different from the colours that are in it, but they're a little bit more vibrant. And like my Gathering Bright Blooms on the navy, they really, really pop. And that kind of got me thinking about it. And how one of the joys of this hobby is that, you know, we get our charts and they're quite prescribed. You know, there's this is the colour for this box. There's a framework, but within that framework, just like the Emerald City that I've just, you know, told you about, those lovely stitchers taking them in different directions, there is the opportunity to personalise things, to take them in your own direction. And I was thinking about that, and, you know, when I saw her show that, I thought that is the perfect example. And I know somebody else who's stitching it, and that's the lovely, lovely Jason Cross Stitches. He's one of my favourite people on the planet, but I'll talk about that after, because otherwise I'll get all unnecessary with myself. Jason is stitching this as well, and I was chatting with Jason, and I said to him, you know, would it be okay that I'd mentioned his stitch off it, and he's like, yeah, go for it. But I said that I wanted to kind of give a couple of examples of how charts can be, how they can look completely different in different people's hands. So Jason's version of it, again, he is stitching on a different fabric. He's doing, it's a rustico, I think it is, quite a natural, soft kind of colour. He has decided that instead of doing that kind of, it's almost a square design, not quite, but almost. He has broken that pattern down, and he has decided to stitch it as a length. He is doing, it's like a doorstop, a draft excluder type thing, so long thing. So he has adapted that that chart to fit that. And again, he is running with his own colour scheme. He's got, I think, a couple of the browns and a couple of the greens. Amanda didn't want any of the browns. She's taken those out completely. But Jason has kept a couple of the browns and a couple of the greens, but has changed all the other colours. And his colour palette is more muted. It's more kind of dusky, almost like a country feel. It's kind of got a retro feel about it. And it's completely different. It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. And I know he's really enjoying stitching it, which is always a huge blessing. And I think that joy, it kind of comes through your stitching, rather than if you're battling with something or just not feeling it. I think it kind of comes through. So I just thought that was the perfect example, that there's one chart that two people have stitched, or are in the process of stitching rather, and that's three completely different looks. And that is the joy of cross stitch. That while at first glance, and for people who are new to it, who are just coming into it, or just outsiders looking at your work, it does seem quite prescribed, quite structured. But actually, no, it's not. There is so much freedom there to be creative and express yourself, where maybe if you were to sit with a blank page, you would be intimidated and not quite know where to start. But because you've got that framework there, it allows you to develop and build on it and take ownership of it. And I just thought that was lovely, and that's something I wanted to talk to you about today. I'm not going to put in photos or anything of those two stitches, because I think it would be much more respectful and much nicer if actually you went and looked at their stitches on their own floss tubes. And I would recommend for both. As I say, Amanda, it's her first floss tube. Jason has shown his kind of like as it's evolved as a whip, and he mentions it in his most recent floss tube that I watched this morning. So it's kind of like literally in the last 24 hours it's been released. So please go and have a look at those. And like I say, I'll show you that one last time, just as a reminder of what the original chart looks like. And go and have a look at their versions, and you'll kind of see what I'm trying to get at, in a very long-winded way, because that's just what I do. Regarding Jason, you're very naughty. You're very, very naughty. You made my eyes leak again this morning when I was watching you. It's not the first time, but you do it in such a lovely way. For those of you who haven't met Jason yet, you must. Jason is, I haven't written any notes about this because I can't find the words I kind of want to use to express how lovely Jason is. He is one of the world's gems. The world would be a much, much better place with more Jasons in it. He has said the most lovely things about me, the kindest, most generous, encouraging, supportive things. But I think he'd probably say that about everybody, because he has just got a heart as big as a bucket. He has a wonderful outlook on life. He's really just one of the good uns, and he's one of the biggest blessings and one of the biggest gifts I take from Flosstube. If I hadn't done this, I would never have met him. And I consider him a friend. He's an absolute darling. And my life is so much better for having him in it. And I've said before how I feel about Flosstube and the relationships it fosters, that people you would never normally have the opportunity to meet. So I know I'm not the only person who has made these kind of connections and friendships through Flosstube, that geography just doesn't factor in it at all. But Jason, thank you for being such a lovely person. You are exactly what the world needs right now. The world is a scary, dark, and kind of unfriendly place at the moment. There's so much hardship in so many different places around the world just now. And sometimes I admit I struggle. I struggle to get my head around it. I can't understand how people can be so wicked to each other. Jason reminds me that there are good people in the world. And that, yeah, I'm not sure of the words, I'm sorry. But yeah, please go see Jason. He's just lovely, and he does some really awesome cross stitching as well. For somebody who's quite new to cross stitch, he's got some fabulous projects, and he's also just arranged a stitching round robin, which he has got a phenomenal 75 people signed up to do, which is just huge. The logistics of arranging that, well done, Jason. You're a braver man than me, but you're absolutely the right man for the job. So yeah, he is arranging a round robin, covering 9 countries. Can you believe? He's got such support for doing this. So yeah, please go watch Jason, and also go and watch Amanda and see her version of that chart as well. I think you'll see such a difference between those two, and then again from the original. So we're almost at the end of this, I promise you. The next people I've got that razzled my berries, it's actually a duo. It's Carol and Jennifer from Two Tall Stitchers, as one short stitcher watching. Yeah, Two Tall Stitchers. It's a mother and daughter duo, and it's the first time I'd watched them, and I really enjoyed their Flosstube. There was something on their thumbnail which caught my eye, which I'll come back to. But they both talk about lots of different cross-stitch projects, whips and FFOs, that they've both been stitching on, different styles, all sorts of different things. There's some quilting in there as well, which is lovely to see. And also you kind of got that banter, that mother-daughter banter thing going on there as well. But the one that caught my eye in particular was Jennifer is stitching the Cottage Garden Sampling Squirrel, which I bought when we were at, now where was this? I got this one, I think again it was Create Nostalgia. I got this one. Oh, was it Nimble Thimble? No, I think it was Create Nostalgia. So Jennifer is stitching this at the moment. She's got it as a whip. And it caught my eye on the thumbnail because I'm going to be stitching that in the near future. I'm going to be stitching this for Bruce. He loves a red squirrel. And I always enjoy watching people stitch something that you're stitching or are planning to. And in this case, I found it really useful. So if I show you this, I've looked at this chart since I've had it, and I'm not entirely sure how I want to stitch it. Now, where Jennifer's at the moment, she's got all of the squirrel's body in. She's kind of up to about here on the tail, so before that kind of colour change. And she's kind of like maybe about the second row of acorns down. So she's not started the bow yet. And seeing that was really useful for me because it kind of looks completely different. It's not, but it just shows you how some elements of a design can impact the overall look of the whole design. That doesn't make a huge amount of sense, but hopefully you understand what I'm talking about. Because I love this squirrel. It's got the sweetest little face, but I'm not loving this bow. I don't know, it just kind of jars. The colours, I don't know, it just looks a bit disjointed to me. So I was kind of like not sure about whether I wanted to stitch this. To be honest, I'd kind of thought I don't really want to stitch the bow. I'm not convinced by it. And originally I thought, oh, well, I'll maybe just do the squirrel and I'll forget about the acorns. But having seen Jennifer stitch on this, I actually really quite like the acorns. So now I'm not sure. And also the tail itself, as I said, she's kind of like got up to almost the point of the colour change. I'm not sure if I'm feeling the colour change. It just seems to go really quite dark. So I'm not sure how I want to stitch it. I mean, the difference between looking at the whole thing and then seeing it there is kind of much more sympathetic without that bowl. It just works better. And when you take that bowl out, all of a sudden, the darkness of that tail works because it kind of balances the darkness of the acorns, and all of a sudden it kind of becomes cohesive. So I thoroughly enjoyed watching their Flosstube, just for the sake of it, because it was really good. There's lots of lovely stitching in it. But for me personally, it was really useful just to see that kind of something I wanted to stitch in real life partway through. How different it kind of looked. Kind of like a photo. You know, you'll all, not all, I'm saying that. If you've been to an LNS, you'll have seen, you know, sample stitches up on the walls. The difference between seeing a photo of something and seeing it actually stitched is huge. And I hadn't been sure about this. I bought it because Bruce likes it. And if it makes Bruce happy, it makes me happy. And he's so supportive and encouraging of what I do with all this, that if I can do something that makes him happy, I'm absolutely there for it. But I hadn't know what to do. So watching that, seeing that thumbnail and clicking on their video has kind of solidified to me how I want to approach this stitch. So yeah, thank you for that, ladies. You've actually really helped me, and I appreciate it hugely. And you were entertaining. It's nice to see a mother-daughter duo. The last couple of people I'm going to mention here are, it's another two duos. These are people who have given me lovely shout outs, really kind, generous comments, really nice. You know, people say all these lovely things. We're back to Jason making me cry. But people say these nice things, and I kind of like, I don't recognise myself in what you're saying, but thank you, you're very good for my ego. So these 4 people over 2 Flosstube channels said lovely things. The first 2 ladies you will know, I'm sure you will know, is Missy and Kathy from Two Needles Pulling Thread. These ladies are fabulous. They're such top value entertainment to watch the 2 of them. They're sisters-in-law, and the way they bounce off each other is great. There's obviously years and years and years worth of a relationship built up there. They've kind of got that almost that shorthand, that kind of it's not snark, but it kind of is. It's just that kind of banter between the two of them as sister-in-laws who have been in each other's lives for such a long time. It's so entertaining to watch as an outsider. Again, they do beautiful stitching. I'm never going to tell you somebody who hasn't got beautiful stitching. But, oh, thank you, ladies. You were very, very kind and generous. As too were Kayla and Laura at Stitching with My Littlie. Very different type of duo. This is a mother and daughter, but completely different from the two tall stitchers. Laura is just a teenager. She's just a youngster, and a young teenager. So it's a very different mother-daughter dynamic. And just lovely to see. And it's lovely to see somebody so young, so completely into their stitching. You know, they were kind of taking it in turns, showing whips and finishes and all that kind of stuff. Lovely projects, kind of lots of smalls, you know, the kind of stitches that we would all like to have for like pillow finishes in tier trays, all that kind of stuff. Lots of lovely things. And it was really lovely to see the dynamic between the two of them. That it's not a case of Kayla's doing most of the stitching and Laura's doing little bits. No, she was matching her mum every step of the way, and talking about her stitching, about the fabrics, about the flosses, all that. So I thoroughly enjoyed watching the two of them. And again, they gave me a lovely shout out. So thank you for that. I really do appreciate it. It's very kind of you. You are very generous. Yeah, and I really do appreciate it. I don't just say that lightly. I mean it most genuinely. I'll say to Bruce, and he sees how much it lights me up, and how after a few rough years with my health and kind of losing my confidence and losing my sense of self, losing kind of like who I was, I know that I'm not the same woman that he met. Sometimes I feel sad for him. I'm kind of like, I catfished him. But yeah, I'm not the woman that I was. Life has changed considerably. And you lose your self-confidence and your identity, your sense of self. And I know that's something that as a woman of my age kind of like is par for the course anyway, regardless of other health issues. And doing this has really given me a boost. So for that, I am hugely, hugely grateful. I know that it takes time to comment, and I've said before how I always struggled with, I would play things on the telly and then I must go and comment on that and would forget to get back to it. And now I know how to throw things from my phone or my iPad onto the telly so that I can write a comment, and I'm much more proactive about commenting, liking, following, subscribing, hitting the alert button so that I know I get a message that somebody's posted, that kind of thing. I'm much more proactive now, because each of us are individuals. We're real people with real lives and other things going on. And some of us maybe don't get out all that much. I know I don't. I know some people work really hard and try and fit their stitching in around it, and you know, full power to those people. I'm possibly the other way. I don't go out much. I haven't been able to work for the last few years. So I'm quite a solitary person anyway. I'm quite happy with my own company. I'm quite happy being at home. I like when I do get to meet friends, like my craft and chatter group, and kind of like we have a few of us that meet on a Wednesday for lunch or coffee. What a huge difference it's made to my mental and emotional health. As has Flosstube. So thank you. And thank you too to all the other people who have been kind and so generous and so graceful in giving me shout outs. As I said, I'm hugely, hugely behind on Flosstube. To watch not just the people that I watch regularly, like I say, but all these new people that I so desperately want to support. And what was really sad, I found this really heartbreaking. I was kind of looking, I'd had a whole lot of other things on my watch later list, and I thought, right, I must go through and sort this list out. Because at that point it was, you know, it was heading towards 300 videos on it. And there's lots of ones that I'd saved to come back to later, that life had intervened and I hadn't got back to. And these are people who aren't filming anymore. And I just thought that was really sad. And I thought, is that because maybe you haven't had the support? Because I put you in my save file? And I'm not saying it was just me that I made the difference. God, I don't have that power over people's lives. But yeah, that I've been guilty of not hitting the like button, not hitting the subscribe button, not hitting the alert bell, because I didn't really know the technology of it. And that maybe people have felt unsupported, when actually this is such a supportive, encouraging community. And for all that, you know, I have these long lists of people who've razzled my berries that I talk about for such a long time. I really want to highlight them and everybody, because everybody deserves a shout out. Everybody deserves somebody saying, yeah, you did good, well done. Everybody deserves to beat the algorithm. I was really, really lucky. I have no idea how, I have no idea why, but the algorithm gods were kind to me. Not everybody has such a wonderful, empowering experience as I've had. So that's why the berry razzling is so important to me. But also those people who have been kind enough to mention me and give me a shout out and kind of introduce new people to me and my channel. Thank you. I'm sorry if I haven't responded to that, given you a shout out, mentioned you, all those things. It's because I'm so desperately far behind. If I was to watch all the Flosstube, I wouldn't sleep, I wouldn't do anything, I would just be sitting on YouTube all day. And also, if I was to watch all the videos in one go, the Razzle My Berry section would be hours long. We would be here forever, and I'm not going to do that to you. So if I haven't mentioned you and you've been kind enough to mention me, please know it is appreciated, and it does mean a lot. And I will, no idea when, but I will play catch up. Yeah, I have no idea what's going to happen over the next few weeks. Ailey is going to be back soon. I've got so much to do before she comes back. So much stuff to organise in the house. At the moment I've got lots of fabric and flosses and that kind of thrown over her bed. There's no place for her to sleep. I started decanting my craft room into her room to sort through things, because it's kind of like playing Tetris in here. I got as far as the taking things out, but I haven't done the sort through and find homes first stage yet. That's not going to happen within a couple of weeks, that's for sure. I've had a year and it's not happened. So yeah, time is going to be precious over the next few weeks, because there's prepping for her coming home. We want everything nice and fresh and lovely for her coming in, so that she doesn't think, oh, I'm back. We want it to be nice as much as we can for her. But then when she is home, we have got a year's worth of mother-daughter date days and adventure days to catch up on. She's like, I'm going to be your little puppy. I'm going to follow you around like a shadow. We need to go to all the garden centres for coffee. We need to go all the nice shops. So yeah, time is going to be a premium. That being said, I will hopefully come back with a mid-month catch up of what's happened for the first couple of weeks of July to tell you about. So what else have we got? We are almost there. We've got the word of the day, and I have a giveaway winner for you as well. So I'll start off with today's word of the day, and that word, if you remember, because it seems like forever ago, was inspired by little Rosie Raccoon. Today's word is fouter. It has derivatives like foutery or foutering, but essentially it kind of means fiddly. This design was a fouter to stitch. It was fiddly and kind of time consuming. So that's fouter. It's another one of those Scottish words that's just really nice to say. It was a right fouter to do, but it was worth it. So fouter, there's foutery, which again, it's fiddly. And then you can be foutering. You can be foutering about doing something. You know, you can be Bruce will footer around in the garden at the weekend. That kind of thing. He'll kind of, you know, fiddle around, play around, do little jobs. And also, fouter can mean somebody who is dithering and just not getting on with somebody, and just say, will you stop being a fouter and just get it done? So it's one of those words that has multiple meanings and uses that kind of all are around it, a central theme, but can be used in lots of different situations. So that is today's word of the day for you, Scottish word of the day, fouter. Not asking you to do anything with it again, just for entertainment. If you can find a way to throw it into everyday conversation, that would be lovely, but you don't have to. So the last thing I have for you, oh, I've got two things I forgot that I meant to show you about, things that, not razzle my berry, but just to show you, a couple of freebies. This is the first one, which is the Thistleheart Creations. This has just been released on her Instagram recently. You can see the Instagram at the top there. And it's the sweetest little mouse hiding behind a strawberry. Perfect for this time of year. Here in the UK, it's Wimbledon season, so strawberries are absolutely spot on for just now. But it's the cutest. It's only a little chart. It would be such a quick stitch. I'm not getting a huge amount of contrast there, but yes, so that's a freebie available from Thistleheart Creations. And the other one I had to show you is today they released the latest Primrose Cottage monthly freebie, which I show you here. It's Hello Summer. It's a kind of fresh and fruity summer stitch with lemons and watermelons and cherries. Yeah, summer in a stitch. So that only came out today. If you're not signed up for the Cottage Garden, Primrose Cottage even, excuse me, the Primrose Cottage newsletter, sign up, because they send you a freebie every month. There's a free cross stitch chart, and they do a quilt one as well. And their charts are superb. The freebies are brilliant. You know, they're not just tooty little charts. As I said, that was last month's freebie, albeit it was in red, white and blue with stars and stripes flags, but that's a lovely chart, and they're very, very generous just to give us that. And you'll find lots of people. So if you're not signed up for the Primrose Cottage newsletter, tootle over to their website and get that done. You won't regret it. You'll get some lovely charts. So yes, that just leaves us the giveaway winner. Now this was the giveaway I had to celebrate reaching 2,000 subscribers, and I announced it in, where was it? Would have been Flosstube 3, with a closing date of midnight British summertime on the 30th, so just earlier this week. And in that you had to use the word guddle. So I have put it through a random comment picker, and I now have a winner. So this was the prize. It was the set of the 12 Cottage Garden Needleworks monthly samplers. You can see January there in the front. Again, I showed you all these in my first floss tube because I stitched them all individually last year as a monthly stitch. Beautiful charts, really nice to stitch as well. So there's a set of 12 of those, and they have been won by Heather Anderson 5668. Sorry, I just turned it to see the number. So Heather, if you could drop me a message, please drop me an email. You can either message me on Insta if you use Instagram. If not, I will put my email address below. If you just drop me an email with your full mailing address, I will get that sent out to you. Well done to you. I hope you enjoy stitching them as much as I did, because I really did. They're lovely stitches. So congratulations to Heather. So I think that's everything. I've kind of told you pretty much all my blethers as we've gone along. I'm looking out. It's kind of a cloudy sky here, but it's sunny at the same time because it's Scotland and we could do all four seasons in one day. But it's still really warm. We're desperately, desperately needing rain. I mentioned, was it a couple of videos ago, that we'd had a big forest fire only a few miles from here because it was so dry. This part of Scotland that I live in, I'm in kind of like Moray, the Moray Riviera. We've kind of got our own little microclimate, that while Scotland is kind of traditionally dreich and wet and dull and we're not. We have much nicer weather here, much milder winters than even just a few miles in either direction, and lovely summers too. Not the heat that some people are used to, certainly not the heat that that England's getting, thank goodness, because I couldn't deal with it. The high teens is plenty enough for me. Celsius, I'm trying to think, is that about the kind of like in the 60s and kind of early 70s? That's my comfort zone. When we start climbing into the mid-20s, I want to melt, like the Wicked Witch in The Wizard of Oz when she's had water thrown over her. That's me in the heat. Don't do heat. So yeah, so it's been quite dry. So we had that forest fire. Thankfully that was dealt with. But last Saturday, we were on Thursday now, Bruce and I were actually driving back from Inverness and we saw this huge plume of smoke, and what's that? That doesn't look great. And there was a fire. It started and then there was multiple fires. We're a few miles from a moor that kind of crosses into the Cairngorms, and it had gone on fire. Kind of lots of heather and woodland areas, quite exposed moorland, and the fire just grew and grew and grew, and they kind of finally got it under control kind of on Monday to Tuesday. We had a downpour. We had an absolute kind of thunderburst, a cloudburst, which everyone was praying for. The fire crews had been out for like 2.5 days by this point, continually trying to control this fire. It's just not happening. It was spreading and spreading because it was just, everything is just tinder dry. And the problem is that the land itself, it's peat. And if you know anything about peat, once it starts burning, it doesn't want to stop. It's very combustible. You think it's out, it isn't. So the fire was spreading above the ground, but it was also spreading underneath through the peat. They ended up with several more fires across the area. Sadly, I think some of them were down to human neglect, carelessness. Who knows, maybe there might have been a couple of them that people, I don't know. It's awful to say it. It's kind of like people jump on the bandwagon and, oh, this is exciting, let's have fires. But mostly it was kind of this huge swathe. Thousands and thousands of critters lost, wildlife. And I think back at the start of the week, the estimate had been about, was it 750 hectares, which is the equivalent to about 10,500 football pitches of ground burnt. They kind of got it under control. We had a little bit of rain overnight last night, but the problem is that peat will still be burning underneath. The ground is still smouldering, and it can reignite at any point and start the whole process all over again. So certainly in this very small little part of Scotland, we are desperately, desperately hoping for more rain to try and absolutely soak the peat through, you know, way below ground, to just penetrate it, because everything is so dry that the rain we've had is just not getting deep enough. So yeah, that's kind of been the biggie in this area the last week or so. But no, I don't think there's any other blethers. Ailey's coming home. It's been an emotional few days with her last shift and everything. I've been really quite emotional for her. So I can't imagine how much more she has been. I know there's been a lot of tears shed. She's had the most amazing year with fabulous friends. Just living her best life. And it's hard to leave that behind. So yeah, so she had her last shift on Tuesday and she moved out of her Disney accommodation today. She's in a hotel for the next wee while, relaxing, having fun, spending time with the friends that she does have out there while she can. Disney cruise for her 3-night one next weekend. I'm very jealous about that, but she'll love it. And then she's got a few more days to kind of get her life in order and then try and wrangle all her suitcases home. And then we have to try and wrangle her suitcases into the car. Not entirely sure if I'm going to be able to go to Edinburgh with them, with Bruce to pick her up. Because there might just not be space in the car for me. But yeah, that's the focus of the next couple of weeks, is getting ready for my baby being home. I'm quite excited. I am quite excited. But anyway, I shall stop talking now. I've gone on for over an hour and 50 minutes. Woo! I can't do short. You know me. I can't do short. But hopefully, if you've got this far, I wish I could give you a medal. Hopefully you've enjoyed yourself. You found something to look at that you've enjoyed, some of the projects I've shown you. Or that I've maybe signposted you to a new floss tuber that you're interested in finding out. Yeah, hopefully it's been worth your while sitting with me, and I hope you've had lots and lots of stitching done. I have had a few people comment to me saying how they like my longer videos, because they can say, I'm just going to watch one floss tube, I'm just going to sit with my stitching and just watch one floss tube, and if they watch me they can get a lot of stitching done. So I shall leave you for now. As I said, I'll hopefully be back middle of the month. Not sure when, because obviously I've got I'll have another human in the house through the day, and I'm not recording with another human in the house. Oh, I'd be mortified. But yeah, sometime around the middle of the month, I will check in, say hello, and let you know what I've been working on. In the meantime, take good care of you. Take good care of each other, be that the ones that you love or just anybody. Be nice to each other. Be kind to yourself as well. Look after yourself. And I hope you get lots and lots of lovely stitching in, and lots of lovely stash shopping as well for those who can. I might have to order a few bits for myself. And yeah, I'll see you soon. Take care till then.